Hey there YouTube! So it's been 2 months since my last reading wrap-up, so it's time for another one. I find that I'm not reading enough in any given month where I can make a monthly wrap-up and for it to have enough content for it to be worth a whole video. So for right now I'm just going to be doing kind of bi-monthly wrap-ups so then I can give you enough content and have, I guess, a longer video or a more interesting video than like, hey, I read one book this month. So 2 months kind of gives me a wider range of time and more books to give you mini reviews on. So in March and April I read 13 books and most of those were manga. About 11 of them were manga. But I'm having a really great time reading a lot of manga this year. I've kind of fell back into my love of manga that I had back in high school. So I'm having a really great time reading manga. Also, I found out that there is a really great manga booktube sort of community on YouTube, so I'm having a lot of fun with that and participating in kind of the manga tuber community in booktube. But I still really like all of my fantasy and YA books and like regular booktube, so I'm still going to be being like a hybrid between the two because I do really like reading both types of books, so you'll get both on this channel. It's just right now I'm really feeling the manga. So I did read 11 volumes of manga and only 2 novels in the past 2 months. Hopefully I'm going to change that a little bit. In May I really want to concentrate on reading more novels versus manga. I do have a set goal of how many novels I want to read this year, so I really need to get working on that, and there's just so many here that I want to read. So May, I think I'm going to try to concentrate a little bit more on reading novels versus manga. But let's get to what I read in the past 2 months. In the beginning of March I participated in a readathon. It was the Otaku-a-thon readathon. You can see my wrap up and vlog for it in the cards so you can kind of find out what I read and how I was reading for that, but I'll tell you a little bit about what I did read for that. But if you want full reviews, check out that video. First off, I read the first 5 volumes of Hanakimi. This is a series by Hisaya Nakajo, and this is one of my all-time favorite manga series. It might be number 1 or 2 favorite series. I have a lot of thoughts about this, but I read this in high school and I decided to go and reread the first 5 volumes because that's what I have. I also have randomly volume 9, but I didn't get to that because I don't have anything in between. But yes, I love this series very much. It has a very special place in my heart, and yeah, Hanakimi is just beautiful. I love it. Please check out Hanakimi if you can. And then I read Chobits. This is the Omnibus Volume 1, so this is the first half of the series. I believe there is just one other volume that has the second half. This is a series by Clamp, and I had never read Chobits before. I heard a lot about it. It was very popular when I was first getting into anime so many years ago. It's very interesting for me to read as being like a Clamp fan and never reading this, and this is a lot different than a lot of other Clamp mangas in art style and in kind of tone and subject matter. So yeah, it was very interesting. I have a lot of thoughts about it in that Otaku-a-thon wrap-up, so please go watch that. I don't remember what rating I gave this. I think maybe somewhere around 4 stars, but it's still really great even though I have some reservations about maybe some of the art in it. And then I took a little bit of a break from manga and I read 2 novels. The first novel that I read in March was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. So I actually filmed a whole reading vlog for this book, but I was editing it and it was just so boring. I really want to try doing reading vlogs, but just that first attempt at a reading vlog was not good, so I'll attempt it in the future for something else and hopefully it'll be a little more interesting. You're never gonna see that reading vlog. Don't ask about it. It's not fun. Something else that wasn't super fun is The Cruel Prince. So I have thoughts on this book, and it really boils down to it was okay. I didn't love it, but I also didn't hate it. My first problem is that it felt incredibly slow until maybe the last 150 pages. So this book is broken up into kind of like sections. There's like book 1 and book 2, but book 2 comes about 150 pages from the end. I feel like book 2 would be like halfway through, something like that, a little more even there. But I feel like the plot really didn't get started until that last 150 pages, and then the last 50 pages was just like, it was going. So I really feel like this book could have been shorter, or the end of it could have been fleshed out more, and we could have gotten less of whatever was happening in the beginning, because honestly I couldn't really tell you. Now that I've said all of that, this book is about this girl Jude, and she kind of gets taken by not really her stepfather, it's kind of like the father of her older sister, and she gets taken to live with, he is a fae or a fairy, and gets taken to live in the kingdom of fairy with her sisters. So she grows up in this world and kind of is struggling to feel like she's part of it, because she's human, so she can never really feel like she completely belongs to this world, but she also doesn't belong in the human world because she's grown up in this magical land. So she's struggling with that. She's struggling to find her place and acceptance with the other people in the other fairies. I'm still not sure what to call them, but this is kind of one of the first books that I've read in this kind of fairy fantasy, fae fantasy. I've read most of the Throne of Glass series, and that seems to be the only exposure to this world of fae that I've had. So this was kind of a bit of a learning curve. There were some things in here where I feel like some things with the world building, I feel like maybe if I had read more fae fantasy novels, I would have understood kind of what they were talking about, just kind of like different creatures and magic sort of things, but I don't know if that's just my ignorance of this kind of fantasy genre, or if it was something that was like lacking with the world building in this book. I can't really tell. So yeah, it's basically just Jude's journey to find acceptance and her involvement with this Prince Carden, who is he is the cruel prince. He's a very mean sort of boy, man, person. Honestly, I think I got this book confused with the plot of A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I felt like this was supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast sort of thing, but maybe I'm just remembering people talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses and thinking it was this one. I'm not 100% sure. So I did have that kind of realization that like, oh, this book is not what I thought it was. I don't know if that has anything to do with the way it was marketed as more of a romance book, or it's just me confusing it with another book that's kind of similar. I do have a few other issues with this book. Mainly I have an issue with the relationship between Jude and Carden and kind of the romance that develops between the two of them. This is definitely billed as a romance between the two of them. It's gonna have a few spoilers here, so click away until maybe a posted time in the description so you avoid the spoilers. Here we go. So essentially, Carden and Jude get together, but I don't understand why. It's sort of a enemies to lovers situation, but I didn't feel that kind of like romantic tension between them where it's loved, like hate to love. It just didn't translate well to me. I didn't feel it, and when they just started kissing, it didn't sit well with me. There's a lot of talk of being ashamed of kind of like having romantic feelings, or like at least lustful feelings, I guess, towards the other character. Both Jude and Carden seem to be very angry with themselves that they seem to be liking this person, and they're like, oh, I'm so ashamed of this, and it just doesn't, even though it's like an enemies to lovers type of thing, it just doesn't feel right to me. Alright, spoilers over. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't hate it and I don't love it. I'm definitely gonna read the second one because there is a twist at the end of this book that has me intrigued on where it's gonna go. I'm definitely gonna pick up the second book, but I don't think I'm gonna rush to read The Wicked King. The next book that I read, I think I finished this at the very end of March, and that is Fairest by Marissa Meyer. This is the novella companion sort of novel to the Lunar Chronicles, and I am Lunar Chronicles trash. I love that series. It was so much fun. I had a great time reading it. I love all the characters. I, however, do not like this book at all. I feel like this book should not exist. There's no point to reading Fairest or for Fairest to exist at all whatsoever. I read the Lunar Chronicles after all of the books had come out, so I don't know when this came out. I think after I became like a Lunar Chronicles fan, I think the first book that came out was Stars Above, so I think Fairest came out at least before that. I think it came out between Cress and Winter, and it seems like it was a thing to tide over readers between the two books, but I'm not 100% sure on my Lunar Chronicles release history. Basically, this is the story of Lavanna, the villain of the Lunar Chronicles. You kind of get to find out her life story and how she became the villain that she is. But the thing is that I really feel like you don't need this, because everything that happens in here you either get in Winter or you can kind of infer that's what happened. There's not a lot in this book that was brand new information. I think maybe one of the only things that was new was maybe the character of Cinder's real mother, and by character I mean like her personality and that she's like kind of a jerk. I feel like that really wasn't apparent in the novels, but it's like a small detail that really you don't need. So I just really didn't see the point of this book, and if you're gonna read the Lunar Chronicles, like literally don't read this. I got this book in the box set that I bought, so that's the reason I have it. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have it. I don't know. It's just not, it's not great. It's pointless. I gave it 2 stars. Like, if you're gonna read the Lunar Chronicles, like, don't read this. You don't need to. And on to the rest of the manga that I read. So I read volumes 4 and 5 of Honey So Sweet. This is a manga series by Amu Meguro, and this is one of my favorite shoujo manga series. I love this so much. This is the story of the relationship between Nao and Taiga. Nao is kind of this small, sweet, shy high school girl, and Taiga is a guy who looks like a delinquent or troublemaker or like a punk, but he's actually like super soft and sweet. Like the definition of looks like he could kill you, actually a cinnamon roll. So Honey So Sweet is just a short and sweet series about the relationship between these two super cute high school kids. These volumes were really great because they did deal with some things that were outside of the main couple's relationship. It dealt with the relationship that some of the characters have with their families, and then the relationship between some of the side characters. It does play to a lot of shoujo tropes, but it does it so well. This series is only 8 volumes long, so you know it's gonna be short, but it packs such like a powerful, cute punch. You get all of those shoujo tropes that you love, and you get them all done very well, and it doesn't draw out the story. Everything gets resolved quickly, but in a at a pace that you are comfortable with, and nothing feels rushed. It's kind of like the perfect length. If you want like a shoujo manga series that just makes you feel great, like definitely read Honey So Sweet. These volumes are really great. I always love the art style. It's so light and fluffy and airy and just totally matches the tone of the story. So I'm excited to read the rest of this series. I only have 3 volumes left, and I cannot wait to read the rest of it. Next, I read volumes 2 and 3 of Aoharu Ride. So Aoharu Ride is a story about Futaba and Ko, and they were kind of each other's first loves in middle school. Nothing happened, and then they met again in high school. So it's kind of them meeting again and learning who they are now, both like learning who they themselves are and learning who each other are again. This is one of my favorite manga series ever. I'm so glad that we're finally getting it in English. I just love it so much. Both of these volumes are still in the realm of the anime, so if you've seen the anime, you'll have been familiar with these volumes. I think there's maybe only like maybe the next 2 volumes cover the rest of the anime, and then from there we'll be in non-animated territory. These volumes, while they do have a lot of really great romance moments, they do have a lot of great friendship moments, and that is one of the things that I really love about shoujo manga. While it does focus on a super swoony romance, it also does focus on female friendships. Those female friendship stories are so important to read. I love that a lot of the really great shoujo manga focuses on those female friendships. These two volumes, I think both of these volumes have really great friendship moments in it, so yeah, they were really fun to read, and I just love this series so much. It's just, I can't describe why I really love this series a lot. It just gives me really great feels. And the last volume of manga that I read was Kiss Me at the Stroke of Midnight Volume 1. This is by Rin Mikimoto. This is about a girl named Hinana, and she's a high school girl, and she kind of has this like perfect girl image, and sort of somebody who's not interested in going out on dates or like flirting with boys, anything like that. But secretly inside of herself, she wants a fairy tale romance. By chance, she ends up meeting super hot actor Kaede, yeah. And she ends up by chance meeting this actor, and kind of their relationship begins, or what could be a relationship. She thinks she's gonna get her fairy tale romance, but it turns out he's not quite the prince that everybody thinks he is. He's super weird and not at all what she thought an actor should be, like a super hot actor should be, so it's very interesting to kind of see their relationship bloom from that, or kind of see where this Cinderella inspired relationship goes. One thing that I really don't like about this series is the main character is a bit of a perv. The reason that he's weird is because he has like a panty or a butt fetish. That kind of just like brings in like a little bit of an ecchi vibe to the series, and I'm not 100% on board with that. I don't really like that very much. I kind of like my shoujo manga to be like pure and innocent, which is very weird, but you know, it's a fantasy. This is sort of kind of like a story where it's like, what would it be like if I could have a romance with my favorite actor? Things aren't always as they seem or how you think they're gonna end up, so it's kind of like dealing with that. One thing that is very interesting about this that probably no one will get, but he seems like, I always love reading manga about kind of famous people from Japan, or like people who are supposed to be actors or musicians or things like that, because 9 times out of 10 the one that in shoujo manga are like from Johnny's, and Johnny's is like an idol talent agency, and they're my favorites. So it does seem like the main guy seems to be at least a Johnny's or idol or an ex-Johnny's idol. So I'm interested in hearing more about his kind of entertainment idol past. This Cinderella story I'm definitely going to check out. I'm not 100% on board with it, but I'll definitely check out a few more volumes of it. So yeah, that is my March and April wrap up. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you've read any like great shoujo manga lately, or what you've been reading lately. I'd be interested to hear. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more bookish and nerdy content from me. That's all I've got for you guys today. I'm Chrissy Lou. Till next time, matane!